So the June 21st, 2023 Nintendo Direct just wrapped up, and boy do we have a lot to unpack from this event. It was a 40-minute long presentation. Now, I will say up front, if you are not a Mario fan, you may have left this presentation wanting something more, but I personally am hyped for numerous first-party Nintendo games that are now headed our way, because if you remember in prior videos, I've been saying I've been more on the side of the fence, thinking that Nintendo would only hold a mini Direct partner showcase this year like we saw them do last year in June, but no, we got 40 minutes of game announcements, many of them first-party Nintendo. They opened up the event with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet DLC. Now, I did not expect to see Pokemon in a big way here at all, because lately the Pokemon company has been saving those for Pokemon Presents, but they broke that trend here, and with it being DLC that's out, one in fall 2023 and one in winter 2023, which they reiterated those time frames but didn't give us any exact dates, it made sense for these trailers to show up, and they look decent. Nothing overhyped me, nothing really stood out and made me think I was going to have some kind of different experience with this DLC than I was with playing through the base game so far, but I will be picking up both packs when it comes out. And if you remember, we have to watch on whether or not that DLC 2 comes with some kind of performance patch for a new Nintendo Switch, which by the way was also not at this Direct, and I had zero expectations for it, but for some reason a lot of people really seemed like they thought the Nintendo Switch 2 was going to show up at the Direct. Just realize Nintendo will do its own standalone thing for that. We'll wake up one morning and it'll be shadow dropped. That's how they'll do that. Anyway, next up we had Sonic Superstars, a more lengthy gameplay trailer for it. I am very pumped for this game to release. We didn't get any official date, we just got a more detailed look at the gameplay, and I'm assuming the Nintendo Switch version specifically, which definitely doesn't look quite as nice as the other versions of the game, but it's more than fine in my opinion on a 2D platformer, classical style game. Looking forward to playing it. It has 4-player co-op. It will be out in fall 2023. Then we got a game called Singularity 6, which is an adventure farming sim. Not the biggest one on any kind of farming simulator game, so quick skip on this one for me, but holiday 2023, it doesn't look bad from a presentation standpoint. If you are a fan of those type of games, definitely look out for that to be released later this year. Then interestingly, we got a Persona 5 Tactica trailer that will be out on November 17th, but no Persona 3 Reload, and that was one that a lot of people were expecting. We even saw Atlas remove Nintendo Switch from the description on one of the trailers that went up for that. So is it coming at a later date and it just won't be ready for the Switch until further in the future? That's totally possible, but it wasn't here, so the question mark is still out there on whether or not we will ever see that game make it to the Switch. A game called Myth Force from Aspyr was next up, and it's inspired by Saturday morning cartoons. I actually thought this one looked pretty good. It's like a 3D co-op online type of game that you can go through with friends and relive classic characters from those Saturday morning era cartoons, but try to take down numerous bosses, and it looked decent. It's a 2023 release, but they gave no time window on it. Next up was Splatoon 3 with a little Splatfest overview. Nothing to really talk about there. Detective Pikachu was next up, out on October 6th, which by the way, we're gonna have to talk about at the end of this video how an account out there on Twitter literally leaked almost the entire contents of this Direct. So we're gonna have to pay some attention to that person, unless if of course they could get totally shut down by Nintendo. But anyway, this game that we've known about for a long time was at the event. They didn't really show the actual gameplay of the game, but I'm assuming if you played the first Detective Pikachu, maybe it's that same similar style. I never played the first one, so I don't personally have any level of hype or anticipation from this game, but it was one that was in the holster for a long time that's being talked about. Some people thought it got canceled, and then it came back with job listings and showed up in interviews. Anyway, it's finally returned with an official trailer, and it will be out October 6th this year. Now next, we got a massive remake from the SNES era, and this was one of those rumored games. It was either a Chrono Trigger remaster or it was Super Mario RPG remaster, and that is what we got. And again, doubling down on the Mario theme with this Direct. This looks fantastic. We actually got a few different Mario announcements in this one segment, but gosh dang, if Mario RPG doesn't look better than ever, they gave it a true big boy remaster. It looks awesome. It's the exact type of perfect art style that you want to see from a classic SNES game. They gave it the love and attention that it deserves, and I cannot wait to pick this thing up. It looks incredible. It will be out November 17th on the Nintendo Switch this year, and this is a day one pickup for me. I'm very excited to play back through it. I have very early childhood memories of this game, but I never went back and played it after that, so it will be like a new experience all over again. And I know it has a fantastic story and gameplay mechanics throughout, so I was personally very happy with this particular announcement. Then we got a look at a couple 2024 games, and one of them is starring Princess Peach. Now, it kind of looked like a platformer 2.5D, but at a much slower pace than a side-scrolling 2D Mario game. But Peach is the main protagonist here, and she also can move like forward and backwards within the 2.5D environment, so it looked decent. The graphics weren't impressive at all. It's actually one of those games that kind of seems like it has a more basic presentation style compared to some of the other Switch games we saw today, but nonetheless, Princess Peach will be getting her own game, and that is out in 2024 at some point, but they didn't have much to say about it, so that leads me to believe it's probably later into 2024 and not a game that's right around the corner. Then we got another massive surprise announcement, which is the port of Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. And I think this is a huge win because it sets a precedent once again that Nintendo is entertaining the idea of porting over numerous 3DS titles. We've seen games like Miitopia in the past, and now this is another one we can add to that list where, yes, the 3DS library just looks that good. If you up-res them and give them a basic HD overhaul, they are essentially playable on the Switch in full quality, and that's what we're getting with Luigi's Mansion 2. So no Luigi's Mansion 4 to look forward to at this time, but if you love that 3DS version, you now have the option to play it on a big screen, which I think is a huge win and one that I did not see coming. So that was a pretty cool moment for me. We then got the very heavily rumored Batman Arkham games that have been talked about for, it seems like, over a year plus now, and they're finally heading to the Nintendo Switch. It's all 3 Batman Arkham games with all of the DLC all in one pack, and it's out fall 2023. No exact date, but a highlight for Batman fans, and I'm glad it's finally coming to the Switch. None of the other rumored third-party games, like I know Dark Souls 2 was in that rumor mill speculation talk at one point in time. I'm still holding out hope for that. It wasn't here, but anyway, we do finally have the Batman Arkham games. We got a mix-up of a few different games that really didn't do much for me. So Gloomhaven, Just Dance 2024, Silent Hope, Fae Farming, and Manic Mechanics that kind of looks like Overcooked, but you're fixing cars instead of cooking meals for customers. Anyway, none of that really did it for me, so not any length of time to spend on them. We did see Hot Wheels Unleashed 2 turbocharged in that trailer mix-up as well, which that one I'll at least play because I did have some legitimate fun with friends online playing through that game. I like the old Hot Wheels cars, so why not? That one's out October 19th, 2023. Sparks of Hope DLC had a brief trailer, and there's actually some interesting news going on with that game that we'll tackle in a separate video in reference to things like backwards compatibility on the Switch and how Ubisoft actually wanted that game to come out on a next-gen successor, but there's more to unpack with that in a future video. Again, that did show up at the Direct. And then we had Dragon Quest Monsters, which is out this year, December 1st, 2023. This looks good for Dragon Quest fans, another big installment in the series. I haven't kept up with those games myself, so don't have a lot to say on it, but it was a good presentation and good trailer and will be out this year. Pikmin 4 got its big overview trailer where now you can go out at night. You can light up Pikmin with new glowing ones that I don't believe were there before. This looks great. The graphical presentation style, the gameplay looks fun. I will be diving into this as my first real Pikmin game that I'll be intending to complete, but I may have a reason to go back and play all of them because the other big announcement was a shadow drop for Pikmin 1 and 2. The GameCube classics have been remastered in HD. Well, they technically didn't say remastered, but the HD versions of those GameCube games are available later today. So I haven't looked at pricing on these or anything, but I do love to see an occasional shadow drop at events like the Nintendo Direct, but I do think that it creates a situation where we're probably not going to be talking about a physical release for these games, which is a shame because they didn't mention that. But if you are a Pikmin fan, you can now play the entire series on the Switch, which is a big win. Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 1 for the Switch is coming out October 24th. This is a perfect fit for the Switch platform, and I'm very glad to see it make it over because it is one of those things that when every other console was going to get this classic collection and the Switch wasn't, it didn't make any sense. So Nintendo wanted to announce it themselves at their own Direct, and we did get that official confirmation here. We got a more detailed look at the gameplay than we've seen, I believe, in any trailer up to this point, which is awesome. So I'm looking forward to that when it releases later this year in October on the 24th. Vampire Survivor was up next, which actually looks really good, especially if you're a fan of that SNES era graphical presentation, and you can do up to 4-player co-op with this. It's pretty much survive against a horde of vampires coming against you. It looked like Castlevania to me at first. I don't know if it ties into that series at all, but the soundtrack was awesome too, and it gave me Castlevania vibes, but that more overhead top-down view and just slaying waves and waves of vampires. So that you don't have to wait too much longer for. It will be out August 17th on the Switch. We then got a couple quick games, Headbangers Rhythm Royal and Penny's Big Break. Both of them look okay. I'm not really going to pick up either one of these, but for certain types of fans of rhythm games or just different types of adventure games, they looked all right. Next up was Wave 5 of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe DLC, which is fantastic because we know to expect new characters now, and we got a new stage trailer in addition to 3 new characters that are confirmed. The stage looks awesome, but the bigger news for me was Petey Piranha is back, Wiggler, and Comic, which I think is awesome. Now, I never played as Wiggler in Mario Kart 7, but Petey Piranha back from Double Dash, that's my favorite Mario Kart game of all time. I think that's great. And Comic is over from Mario Kart Tour, I believe is the only game he's playable in, but a great fit for the character roster, and I believe we still have 1 or 2 more after this to look forward to. Interestingly though, Nintendo did not drop a date or any kind of expectation on when to expect this thing to drop other than just summer 2023. So we kind of knew that already. I'm surprised they didn't give us a date, but regardless, we do have that to look forward to still this summertime on the Nintendo Switch. Next up was Star Ocean 2 Remake, which looks really cool because they did the HD 2D style of presentation, but they merged it into 3D, which is really an interesting perspective shift. I liked the presentation of this game. I didn't actually play Star Ocean, any of them up to this point in time, so from the outside looking in on the series, I think it did a really good job of hyping me up for it, and I will definitely be checking out Star Ocean, the second story R, when it launches on the Switch on November 2nd this year. We got a new WarioWare Move It game that's out November 3rd. It's WarioWare. If you know what to expect with those games, you know what you're going to be getting into. Fun parties type of game that you can boot up with more casual gamers when they're over. It looks okay. I may or may not get it depending on the price point around it. And then we got like a brief reel for Nintendo Live and the promotions that they're running over the upcoming months. This Nintendo Live looks like what they've done in Japan, but it's just going to be brought here. Don't expect anything crazy in terms of like live E3 style announcements. I don't think that's ever what this thing was going to be, and it's pretty clear that it's just a community event for Nintendo fans to get together and play games that we already know about. We then got a mention of Tears of the Kingdom, and I really thought we were getting DLC for a second when this popped up on screen, and no, of course it's not that. It's the amiibo that we figured were in the holster and ready to come out because you could already data mine and unlock these paragliders that weren't available any other way. Anyway, it's a Zelda and a Ganondorf amiibo, and they will be out later this year. But that's all we got in terms of Tears of the Kingdom news. And then we got the big show closer trailer, which was also one that was leaked ahead of time. Literally this entire direct was leaked, and we'll hop into that in just a second. But Super Mario Bros. Wonder, it is not new Super Mario Bros. It is a different style, and you see that right out of the gate. It's still 2D Mario, that's very clear, but they went into a different art style with this game that clearly separates it from the new series of games that we saw them tackle with the DS through the Switch era, and this looks great to me. I know some people are burnt out on the 2D formula when it comes to Mario games, and they say you've done everything you can with it, it's time to move on to something totally different. This doesn't reinvent the wheel, but it does look like Nintendo got really creative with different type of stage contraptions and things that Mario can morph into, including an elephant like we saw at the end, which is wild. But I love to see Mario's arms stretched back behind him, kind of Super Mario Bros. 3 style. This gave me a lot of like nostalgia feelings for the classic Mario games that I grew up playing, but of course in a more modern environment. And you can argue that's what New Super Mario Bros. Was, but I like this difference in style and this difference in approach and the presentation behind it. And you can still do 4-player co-op. It looks like the next first step for 2D Mario, and it's also genius considering the mainstream appeal of Mario right now, following up the success of the movie, to throw out this type of new art style, new direction, and interestingly, the type title, Super Mario Bros. Wonder. The nice thing is we don't have to wait too much longer for this. It is out October 10th this year, and definitely one of the big highlights of the presentation for me overall. But again, if you're not a Mario fan, those were the big surprise announcements. So if you're a Zelda, Metroid fan, or you wanted to see any other type of game support here, they didn't have any massive stuff. No rumored ports and remasters. Wind Waker, Twilight Princess off the table, not coming anytime soon. I'm assuming F-Zero GX remaster, whether or not that's in the holster, we just have to wait and see. It's pretty clear that Paper Mario Thousand Year Door won't be around anytime soon, considering we're getting Super Mario RPG Remake. But I thought this was a really solid direct overall, especially where my expectations were at going into it, because again, I was just surprised that we got a 40-minute mainline direct in the month of June, when last year they didn't do that, and there was definitely strong possibilities with where the Switch is at in its life cycle that they may not do it again. And the last quick shout out is Pyro, however you say it. Anyway, this Twitter account legitimately leaked every single big announcement from this showcase. So it's one worth paying attention to if you keep up with Nintendo leaks and rumors. If you don't want to have things spoiled, don't follow them, because they have inside information, and I'll just be waiting to see if Nintendo can track down who this person is, because legitimately not only stuff like Sonic Superstars and all of that we've talked about before, but they tweeted out things like Everybody 1-2 Pikmin before we knew that was going to be coming out, 2D Mario, and a classic SNES remake, a GIF of the Yoshi from that remake, and then we also got a Detective Pikachu GIF the other day posted, and then even this morning with Metal Gear Solid, it's literally this person had inside information of everything that was at the Direct, which is kind of mind-blowing to see, but I don't think there's any more question that there's too many right guesses to be lucky. So anyway, that's out there. I don't know exactly what to make of that account and whether or not we'll hear anything from them anytime soon, but if I had to give the Direct an overall letter grade, I would give it a strong B+. I wanted to see something in the realm of Zelda content, something in the realm of Metroid content, which we did not get, in addition to games like F-Zero that I'm just wondering what's going on with them. But overall, as a Mario fan and as somebody who's looking forward to more 2D Mario, I'm walking away from this direct very hyped and very excited. But I want to hear from you guys at this point in the video what you thought about the entire presentation from start to finish, and if you had to give it a strong letter grade, what would you say on a through F scale overall? And which games are you walking away from this direct that you were looking forward to the most? So regardless of your thoughts and feelings on everything we talked about today, I do look forward to hearing from you all in the comments down below before you leave the video, as I do look forward to getting a back and forth conversation started with you all around these topics. Go watch yesterday's video next if you haven't already, which is on screen right now. Also make sure you like, subscribe, turn on your notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next video.